there's this thing and it's legal. Like, I don't know how. I'm still learning about it, but you don't have to pay taxes. And they were like, no, that's impossible. And the more I kept reading, I was like, wow, like this is possible and this is legal. And it's just being in the know and having the right relationship and making the right investment. And I can do it too.
All right, guys, welcome to another amazing episode. Today we have Daisy Serrano and Luke De Abreu. They're amazing real estate entrepreneurs and investors. They're looking to go into multifamily syndication in the long term right now. A lot of passive investing and limited partnership that we're going to dive into. More specifically, they target and their idea is to educate millennials. And, if you haven't, reach out to them and learn from them because they're very smart people. So we're going to dive right in. And Luke, Daisy, whoever wants to take it first, just let us know just a little bit about you. How you got into this journey and your aha moment into, I guess, large multifamily and what made you want to invest in that?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you both, Oscar and German, for having us. We're excited to be with you and to learn more about your experience as well. And yeah, for us, for me personally, I got into real estate because of Luke, specifically. He ended up talking to me. We're actually engaged, so that's probably something to mention. We're engaged, soon to be married, and we're also business partners. Thank you. And we're also business partners, so doing a lot of this together. As we grow. And so for me, Luke was the one that introduced me to real estate, to multifamily specifically. And at first, I didn't really want to hear it. It seemed really boring. It seemed like I just would see, the underwriting, the spreadsheets, and it didn't catch my attention too much. But I fully supported, what he was doing. And I think just little by little, once I started learning the opportunities, what was available, the impact, the access, just how much there was that was a potential within real estate, within multifamily specifically, then that's really what pulled me. And it was just really, little by little. So I started going to real estate meetups with Luke, and I joined Women's Real Estate Network, which is an organization based here in LA, specifically for women. Found my niche there, joined a class on raising capital. We started a podcast together. So it just kind of trickled from there. So initially it was just, learning about it, hearing about it from Luke, and then investing as passive investors together. And then from there, just continuing to learn more. And the more I learned, the more I got sold. And the more I just was looking forward to doing it full time.
Okay, awesome. And Luke, how did you feel, about getting into this together and then finding moving forward into an actual investment?
Yeah, you're thinking from the LP side, Oscar?
Well, yeah, I'm thinking as LP side, and then in general as you guys grew, right? Like what, your comfort level has to be there and be there as partners. How did you guys eventually? Because it had to click, right? Like, hey, like you're okay with it, I'm okay with it. How did you feel about it? I know how Daisy feels about it. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think. I'm one of those people where it's like, okay, I have my mind made up and it's like, this makes sense. All right, like, let's do it. That's kind of how I am. It takes me a little bit of time to end up getting there, but once I'm sold on something, I'm sold on it and I'm moving forward. And so I think it was a long sales cycle, really. It's like being engaged, where it's like you're dating and then you're like slowly but surely like talking about stuff here, talking about stuff there. And I think once Daisy was able to see the kind of power that was available within real estate and like specifically within multifamily, just because of how resilient of an asset class it is, then it ended up making it. I feel like that's what really kind of pushed her over, where she was like, okay, like I can provide more access and wealth for my family and be able to like retire my parents and be able to set an example for my ahada. So it was like that sort of stuff. And so for me, it was, I wasn't sure if she would ever really be interested in real estate, but I just always kind of talked about it. And then eventually, it ended up happening. So thank God it's moving in that direction.
That's pretty interesting. And I think we relate to it. And I think a lot of the audience, especially male audience, we can relate to it because guys tend to jump into whatever is exciting, right? And we're like, okay, hey, this is awesome, and the idea is great, and we're gonna make a lot of money and this and that. But then women tend to, especially when it comes to couples. I mean, it happened to me and it happened to Oscar too. There, females are more reserved, right? And they tend to be like, you know what, I want to go on the safe side. I want to keep it, like Daisy said at the beginning, is boring, but I'd rather stay on this boring side because I don't want to take the risk. So for Daisy, right? What was interesting about real estate besides the fact that, yeah, you saw it was lucrative and it was a resilient asset, like Luke said, but what was it in your mind that made you visualize that end product? You're like, you know what, we can do it, and it's not gonna be as boring as I thought it was.
And be specific.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, parts are still boring, but
Yeah.
it's part of the process, right? But I think I've just learned to love it now. And I mean, what really did it for me is seeing the opportunity to create generational wealth for my family and for my community. I'm Mexican American. And so what I saw growing up is that a lot of the different things that I saw within real estate, the access that's available to build generational wealth, to change, not just your life, but like the life of other people around you, is really like, I'm really big on community. And so that's really what pushed it for me and what sold it for me. And then just the more I learn about it, meeting, you guys, you both, other people, other like amazing women and like men that are out there just kicking ass and like doing, can we cuss?
Yeah.
That are out there and that are just, doing really awesome things, and meeting those people, that's really what did it. Because at first, a lot of it I saw as, it's these people, and I saw it as very removed from who I was myself, because I didn't grow up with it, because I didn't know anybody that had done it before. And once I started meeting those people in person, then I realized like, oh, they're normal human beings just like me. So it was really a huge like mental shift that had to happen for me to see myself in their position as well, and see that, if these other people are doing it, then I can do it too. And I can do it maybe even better, because there's things that I have, perspectives and background and experience that they don't have. And so it was very empowering to then see that, I've met people that are doing it, they're doing really amazing things, but it's not just for them. They're actual human beings, and I can be that too. And so that's really what propelled me to move forward.
I love it. So when you started analyzing numbers and looking, okay, how did you realize, like, did you see a specific number one day and say, wow, this can provide an 80% ROI, or wow, I can pass this down to my children and be it tax free. I can, defer taxes till death and then die and never pay taxes. Like, what was one key specific like that made you realize, wow, real estate over any other kind of investment?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Right now, I'm actually a 1099 employee. And so I, do my own taxes at the end of the year. And so I'm very aware of what I'm paying in taxes. I think when I was a W-2 employee, I didn't know, I wasn't as aware because it was taken out of my paycheck, right? Now that I've been a 1099 for quite some time, and I learned about all the tax benefits, I read a book, it was part of the Rich Dad, Poor Dad collection, where he broke down, all the different benefits and different things that you could do with real estate in terms of tax incentives and tax benefits. And I went to my sisters, I remember, and I said, there's this thing and it's legal. Like, I don't know how, I'm still learning about it, but you don't have to pay taxes. And they were like, oh, no, that's impossible. And, the more I kept reading, I was like, wow, like this is possible and this is legal. And it's just being in the know and having the right relationship and making the right investment. And I can do it too. So I think just like every piece of knowledge sort of built on the previous one. And I mean, I can keep going and going and going with so many things, but that was like a big thing for me.
That's huge, because I wanted to make sure you hit that, because I knew you were, because I know when I first discovered that, I was like, wow, millennials, Latinos, minorities in general, we don't learn this stuff. And this is where, generational wealth is happening, and we're kept in the dark. I mean, we just don't know, you know, it's just not something our parents teach us, nothing education system does not teach, but you have to know the people to point you and say, hey, that's where the money is really made. And I'm glad you found it. I really am. German, you got anything?
No, yeah, it's not part of the conversation, you know, for minorities. We worry about other things. One of the things that's happening right now, you know, all the injustices and all that stuff. But if you look past all the, let's call it injustices and all the negativity and all that stuff, there's also a lot of opportunities that that we, I don't know, sadly we don't focus on, and we don't talk on the daily basis, you know. And not only that, we don't teach our kids, which is very sad.
Yeah. So let me ask you guys how your first limited partnership, you know, began. Like obviously, I mean, you guys are not accredited investors yet, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So someone had to do a 506B and try to approach, well, they didn't approach you guys officially, but how did that all work, right? Because that's another piece, right? We don't hear about these type of investments because they can't advertise to non-accredited investors. So you either have to know someone or hear about someone and say, hey, do you have something? But unless people actually want to, you know, which most people, I think the less money you have, the more stingy, the more scared you are to ask people about good investments. So how did that process go for you guys?
Really, I had an old roommate that I had lived with, and he had a connection to someone that was a GP and a syndicator. And so I ended up getting connected with that syndicator. My roommate knew that I was interested in real estate, and he knew there was something like on the forefront of my mind. So we ended up getting in contact with, I guess he ended up getting me in contact with the GP ultimately. And it kind of ended up going that way. And so, you know, at some point there were offerings that were available, and then able to look at them. And that's kind of how it really ended up happening. I mean, to your point, it's almost like this like secret society or something, you know, and it's like, you know, nobody can know about stuff. And whether, you know, and it's set up that way with the SEC to protect investors, but it also is a barrier, a very, very strong barrier to entry as well. So yeah, it's like this, hey, I know someone who knows someone, and then I know that person, and that's how it ended up happening, really.
Okay, cool, man. And then from there, how did you vet the syndicator, the deal? How did that go?
Yeah. Do you want to touch on some of that, and I'll like close? Yeah.
Sure. Well, for me, to be completely open and honest, the very first deal that we invested in together, I had no idea what was happening because I am not a numbers person. And so I just had complete trust in Luke and what he was looking at and what he was underwriting. He actually did his own underwriting. So we have the complete package from the sponsors that we were working with, and Luke created his own spreadsheet and looked at the sensitivity analysis and what things would look like. And so I was going really based on, you know, what he was looking at and what he was able to talk to me about. So he can definitely get more into the details and the weeds, because I mean, now we're able to, you know, look at a deal, talk about the details, talk about specific numbers and really break it down. But at the time, this was what, 3 years ago, 3 years ago. And so my experience was zero. And so it was really me going on, you know, a leap of faith and trusting him. And, you know, we were together at the time. And so trusting him and knowing that he wasn't going to, you know, lose my money or run off with my money. But it was really a big leap of faith for Luke.
Yeah. So we, you know, on the deal that Daisy ended up investing in, I mean, I ended up taking whatever the OM had and the pro forma, like I plugged it in. And so to provide context, I have an engineering undergrad and grad degree. And so I'm like, okay, I'm like the nerdy numbers guy. And so ended up doing sensitivity analyses, just really looking at like, okay, so in year 2, where does revenue have to be and where does occupancy have to be for me to not lose money, right? If the cash on cash drops to 0, and then what does that look like in year 5? What does it look like if revenue stays flat for 2 years and expenses increase year over year 2% or 3%? Like, it's for me, it was, I'm much more about capital preservation. Like, of course I want to end up growing, but I don't want to lose money. Like, there's so much time, like you can get money back, like you cannot get time back. And so that was super duper important to me. In terms of like non-numbers things, there was vetting the sponsors. I mean, doing a bunch of research on them, meeting them, also doing research on the property management company as well to figure out like, okay, so who the hell are these guys? Also being able to go and secret shop. So we actually secret shopped the property as well, and flew out to Texas, and we're like, oh, we're looking to move here. And so, you know, I wanted to see like, okay, so like, what does the street look like? What's the area like? What kind of cars are here? Like, what does it look like a block away? All of that sort of stuff, you know, like I didn't want to see like super old cars that were all run down and like, you know, just like trash everywhere. I'm like, okay, like does this all make sense? I want to see how, you know, the property manager ended up greeting us when we walked in. Were they trying to actually get the apartment rented? It was those sorts of things as well that we ended up looking at. So,
and we also met with one of the GPs. So that was something that we did. We met with him. He was also based out of LA. And so we were able to meet in person, you know, have a conversation, get to know each other, and just really understand who he was as a person. I think that was really big in terms of, you know, being able to trust who we're working with. There was already a referral because of Luke's friend, but then also just, you know, trust but verify, right? Just make sure that you're working with somebody who's decent and honest. And so just doing our homework on that end, whether it was with meeting with him, with, you know, doing our research, talking to other people that have invested with him, and really understanding who it is that we were going to invest with.
And can you tell us, for our audience who are not familiar with this, or probably, you know how everybody is, they want to see the process from A to Z, right? What is that the timeline that we're looking at from you doing your due diligence on the on this investment?
Yeah, for one of them, I guess the larger of the two assets that we're involved with, really that ended up ultimately being a couple of months. That was partly meeting the sponsor, doing underwriting, and then being able to go out there and secret shop them as well. I mean, I think they typically run about a month and a half ish for, you know, how long they kind of kept things open back then. And so that's, you know, I'd say that was how long they had it open for, but we had a little bit of early access to the deal before they ended up doing their webinar and answering and doing a Q&A on that. So, I mean, that being said, there was a bunch of work and like self-teaching way before all of that went into understanding like just, you know, jargon and terminology and knowing that like, okay, we're sold on this MSA specifically and it makes sense, and sold on this asset class. So, yeah, I guess that answers the question.
Yeah, definitely. And let me ask you this. So when you did the due diligence, you're ready to pull the trigger, you know, things start happening like that, right? Can you explain to us, okay, this is the, like Daisy said, it's the leap of faith. What was the emotions going through? It's like, okay, I'm about to give these people, you know, a bunch of money. Let's see what happens. And also the emotions, you know, they close the deal, and how long the deal was for. And I mean, did you guys get your money back, or are you still in that deal?
Yeah, we're still in it. It's a 5 to 7 year hold, and right now we're in year 2.
Yeah, 2/3.
Yeah, for one, and 2 for the other. So they're still both active, and they're performing really well. Both are in San Antonio. So even through right now, you know, we're still in the middle of COVID, as we'll be probably for quite some time. And so, yeah, they're both still performing very well, continuing to get distributions. We started getting distributions fairly quickly after acquisition. I think there was only one quarter, if that's correct. And after the first, so in Q2 is when we started getting distributions. And even now through COVID, there was 1 quarter only when they stopped distributions, just to have some reserves on hand. But distributions have started again, so it was only affected for one quarter or one term. So yeah, it's continuing. It's going really well. I think we've worked with the same sponsor a couple of times, so we're just very confident in what they're doing, and they themselves continue to acquire and grow. So it's been really nice to be able to see their growth and get to know them also, right, as people, and see the kind of work that they're doing, because now that we're looking to get on the active side, there's definitely been a wealth of knowledge in terms of, access and answering questions. And one of them was on our podcast recently. And so just being able to have the access, to them and to ask questions has been really, really good.
Yeah. What about the emotions?
Ooh, emotions. So I was scared, to be honest. I mean, it was, for me, it was a lot of money, and I was nervous to let go. I remember when the wire transfer, was happening, I was like, I still have time to pull the trigger. Or I'm sorry, to not pull the trigger. But I think once I did it, it just motivated me to continue putting money away to do it again. And that's sort of the momentum that I got from it is, once I did it the first time, then it was like, okay, how much money can I put away now for the next one? And like, how much money can I put away now? So it became like this sense of like adrenaline after the first one, after that initial sense of like, of letting it go, then it was just continuing to do it again. So.
Yeah, I think for me, it was more of a sense of accomplishment, just because, I'd been thinking about this for so many years and had it on my radar for so many years that I was like, okay, well, like now the rubber meets the road sort of thing. All right, let's like move forward. Let's get this taken care of sort of thing. And so that was really a sense of accomplishment for me. I would end up saying was the main emotion. I don't know if that's an emotion, but that's what was going through my head.
And to be honest, Luke is very easy, so he doesn't.
I don't get too high. I don't get too low.
Yeah. So it was very much so his personality, for sure.
That's awesome, man. No, that's pretty cool because I mean, you're invested in a big. I think this one is a 255, right?
Yeah, it's 253.
253. Yeah, no, I mean, that's a lot of units, and you have to have trust in that sponsor. That's right. So is this what class? Class A? Was it already stabilized?
They're both solid Class Bs. So I mean, we can talk specifics. I don't think there's, the boogeyman isn't going to come and arrest us for that. So yeah, they're the group that we work with is Wildhorn Capital. Reed Goosens, who has his podcast, Investing in the U.S., and also Andrew Campbell. And so both of these assets are in San Antonio. One is now called the Joseph, that's 192 units, and then the other is called the Lila, that's 253. But they're both solid B-class assets, some deferred maintenance. They know that there's rent growth. They're doing interior, exterior improvements on probably 3/4 of the property in order to drive some rent growth. And yeah, solid B-class assets in B-class areas.
No, that's really good, man. That's very good. Yeah, no, you guys got into a good deal. That's really exciting. Yeah, German, what you got?
No, I mean, that's pretty cool. And what's the goal for you guys in regards to investing? Are you guys gonna keep doing it passively? Are you guys going to go actively and syndicate money since you have the experience now, or what's the goal?
Yeah, the goal is to continue both. We want to continue definitely investing passively and, working with other sponsors and other groups that are, doing great in the area, but also to jump over to the active side. So, because Texas is a market that we've invested in and that we know that's our target market, or I guess target state in this case. But yeah, so that's what we're looking at right now is building our team, and going out there regularly to be able to meet brokers, meet lenders, meet everybody. Right now it's really on building the team. And also the other side of it is also the underwriting part. So now that I got over my fear and my insecurities and limited beliefs about numbers, and that I actually enjoy the numbers, just diving into the underwriting and really understanding what the numbers are saying has been really big for me. So those are really the two focuses, is focusing on underwriting, on getting deal funnels, and obviously with building our team as well.
Awesome. So you guys, where are you now in that stage of team building? What is missing? Because you never know, someone could be listening and they reach out to you and they're like, hey, I could do that.
Yeah. I mean, the The few main pieces right now, we're reaching out to KPs right now in order to have those strategic partners on our team. We're moving forward. We have some partners on the capital raising side that we're working with as well. I know Daisy can speak a bit more about that. And then also right now attorneys is really big that we're working on, and then brokers. I mean, it's just, it's the deal flow at the end of the day as far as the brokers are concerned, and being able to, if the off-market deals are available, being able to get those, or being able to have, a best and final in an offering as well.
Awesome. And for deal flow, are you just relying on brokers, or are you going yourself out to owners?
Oh, at this point, it's solely been brokers, and it's being able to get a lay of the land better in terms of the MSAs that we're targeting, and seeing like, okay, like where are cap rates landing, where are these expenses landing, and where are like door price per unit prices landing as well.
And just Texas? That's all you're focused on? San Antonio, MSA?
Yeah, currently we've really been focused on Austin and DFW. Of course, those are like large areas, especially DFW. It's like a huge metroplex. But those are the two areas that we've been focused on. We're not married to them, so to speak. But those are two MSAs that we like for a lot of reasons.
That's awesome, guys. German, you got anything? I got a few more.
Yeah, a few more questions. So changing to, well, one thing that I'm curious to ask, again, for the audience, for the wannabe investors, especially on the passive side, what would you guys recommend for them to be like the first step? And I know education is a big part, but besides that, what would be another step that you guys recommend?
Yeah, I would say talk to people that have invested passively, and understand what that process looks like, right? From, getting to know a sponsor, right, to doing all your research about it, but also just what are the expectations that you should have of a sponsor, right? How often should they communicate? Like, what should they provide in, whether it's a quarterly report, monthly webinars, like what is that information that you should be getting? And how do you interpret that? I think that's really, really big, because for us, we actually take a pretty deep dive when we get the financials and look at, okay, where was it, where is it supposed to be at this point of the acquisition? What was the pro forma? Like, what was it supposed to be? And so we definitely take a deep dive on that end. So I think just really trying to understand more so like what the expectations are, and not being afraid to, pick up the phone or email or reach out to them, right, with questions, and just stay in communication, because I think that's really the way to continue like learning, right? I think they're a great resource, but only if you tap into it. If you don't communicate, if you're not in touch with them, then it's a resource that's gone wasted, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, and even having access to deals, I would say, if you connect the dots, I'm sure you've had plenty of syndicators on your show, right? And then get on their list, just, build like a bit of a relationship, even if it's just a one-way relationship where you're just receiving from them. Then you see how they already communicate. And then once you're there, if you fill out an investor form, right, then, I mean, that's how you get access to it ultimately. And you're able to see what's going on. Secondarily, I would say figure out what your goals are, whatever that means, I mean, for life, right? And figure out what those are and write those down and stay focused on those. And that just keeps moving you in the right direction day after day.
Nice.
I love that, man. There's so many people I reached out to, and they let me peek behind the curtain. And even just seeing how they react to something I send them, and they reply back an email, and it might be automated, but I get to see how they process and they configure their emails, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I got it. That's how we should do it. So it's that's a great point that you hit there. So, last big question here is, so we always like to kind of ask, hey, how do you balance, work life and this real estate stuff, right? It can be a lot of pressure. It can be stressful at times, and you guys are doing it, as a couple, and that's awesome. So what advice do you have for people out there as far as making it work, and balancing that? Because sometimes you have to take a break and focus on what's important, right? Each other, the relationship, life, just, it's not all work. So how do you guys do it?
You want to go?
Take it?
My head goes a couple of places. I mean, one being able to like turn off at a certain time, right? I mean, for me, it's like I go to bed. I wake up early, so I get to go to bed early. So for me, it's like 8 o'clock. I'm like, I'm not doing any more work. It's 8 o'clock. Like I got my like sleepy glasses on. I wear these like special glasses that help me fall asleep easier. So I'd say after a certain time, you know, it's like my brain shut off, and I just make that a point. And then we also schedule time. We schedule time to work on real estate, but then we also schedule time to like just be together as a couple. And real estate is just not even in the equation. It might come up here and there, but we also try to make it an active point to talk about other things, like stuff going on with her family or stuff going on with my family, or it's like this is what's going on at the bachelorette party, you know, which I'm not invited to. And I would say that for me, the other thing too is empathy. For me, it's very easy to just like, it's like, oh, I'm doing this, and then the other person isn't doing it, you know? And it's like, you know, that's like, that doesn't help anybody, you know, like you have to communicate and have some empathy in different situations, and people move at different paces, so to speak. And then also people are able to work at different times, you know, like I'm able to have some more flexibility, and Daisy's able to end up doing stuff during the evening when I don't want to. So that's just kind of, you know, the stuff that I have to spitball off of. I don't know, what do you have, Daisy?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big thing for us, something that we started doing even before real estate, is that every Sunday we talk about our week, and we look at, you know, what do we have going on? How can we support each other? You know, what's the finances, right? How much you got? How much I got?
How much we got?
Yeah,
But yeah, it's all those things, right, that make a big difference. Because, you know, as you mentioned, right, it's not just real estate, it's family, it's time together, it's you know, what we want to do. And sometimes it is hard to not talk about real estate, because so many things revolve around it for us, whether it's, you know, with like brokers, or with like partners or organizations that we're part of, or with the podcast, right? Because we're always thinking like, ooh, we found somebody that would be awesome for the podcast, or whatever the case may be, right? So sometimes we do have to say like, okay, this is the last thing, and then we'll move on. But then we just keep talking about it for a while, right? So I think it's just, as long as it's not taking away from the relationship, it's not bad to talk about it. But it's when it's taking away, or one or the other feels like they're not, you know, being heard, or whatever the case may be. I think that's where, you know, maybe it's a little bit different. But I think because we're both just really passionate about it, and just really ready to see where this takes us next, I think it doesn't feel like work to be able to, you know, to work together. It's actually really cool, because now, I mean, you know, something I never thought mattered to me is to be able to, when we have kids, to be able to spend time with them, right? So that's a big part of our why together, is because, you know, for me to be able to stay home with the kids, which I was raised very like independent, feminist, like, you know, don't depend on the man. And so it was just a mind shift, right, for me to be like, yeah, I do want to be able to, you know, work from home and have this, you know, source of income, but also, you know, be there for our kids and for our family. So I think it's all together. I don't really see it as a balance, because I think it just meshes too much for us to be able to like keep it separate. It's all together every day.
And one last thing that I would add too, I know both of you are fans of Uncle G. That's Grant Cardone, for anyone who doesn't know. But I mean, something that he's talked about is that Elena's there, and she's helping to push him, right? And so that's what honestly, that's what it's been for me. You know, Daisy has very complementary skill sets to me. And so, I mean, I would say without her, I don't know that I would be where I am now with real estate. And I don't think that'd be where I'm going to be in 5 years from now, and where we're going to be 5 years from now together. So, I mean, that's the other part. It's like having a partner who's there, who's supportive, just ends up it makes a world of difference when you're on the same page with that.
Man, that's amazing.
I love it.
And the fact that real estate is part of your relationship, that's awesome. Because the reality is, when you're working together, it's not work anymore. It's just part of your life, and it's fun. I don't know. To me, real estate investing is fun. I enjoy every second of it, and I can work 7 days a week on it, and talk about it all day. You know, like, okay, whatever. I'm happy with it. So that's pretty cool that you guys actually were able to put it all together.
Yeah, no,
That's
that's
great.
great, guys. I love
And
that.
in going off topic, and I know my brother said, last question, but it's just I'm curious to know because you're probably the only guest that mentioned community, family,
Yeah.
and another thing that you mentioned is the fact that you tell people that and that not aware about not paying taxes. So, and I know for Daisy, you go to women's real estate meetups, right? It's in real estate, the industry doesn't have that many women involved in real estate and investing in the finances and all that stuff. So, I think it's pretty important. So, can you talk about that? Can you talk also what is it that you guys plan or are currently doing for the community, and can you talk about educating people, or how do people take it when you tell it, well, you don't pay taxes, you can actually do this and it's legal? Because I tell people, and I put it on a lot of my posts, it's like, well, if you do this, you don't pay taxes. And some people are like, what are you talking about? So uh, and the fact that I hear a lot of people always complaining, the rich don't pay taxes. And I tell people, well, instead of you criticizing, why don't you ask the question, like, how is it that they don't pay taxes? Why don't you educate? Because exactly, and like you say, look, real estate investing, it has really is it's not easy to get into, but once you educate yourself a little bit, that's the entry point to it, and anybody can do it. It doesn't matter how much money you have or what's your where you came from. It's not one of those industries where you need to be wealthy to be in it. So can you just talk a little bit about that? And I don't want to take much of your time.
Yeah, no, I can talk about this all day. So, I mean, community and family for me means everything. Like, it's the foundation of everything that I do. And so it was really important when we started working together to be able to incorporate that. And so that's really how the podcast came about for us. It was, we always talked about, to our friends and to people about, what we were doing, but, you see friends or family like every so often. And so you're not able to get really deep into conversations about, all the benefits and how you do it, right? And so we decided to start the podcast because we wanted to create more access for millennials, for people in our community and our families to be able to invest, and to know that it's possible. And the feedback that we've gotten has been amazing. I mean, from people, complete strangers that found us or listened to us on a podcast, and we shared our story, and they were like, wow, like, you're doing all of this. And I'm like, and I always tell people, you don't have to be a numbers person, because I was so intimidated by the numbers that that held me back for a long time. And so it's really just having the access, putting in the work, because you have to be able to learn to be around the right people and educate yourself. But once you create that access and that opportunity, then it's just like a rolling ball. So something that we've talked about is, with our active deal, is that we are going to set a certain amount of that for non-accredited investors. And we're going to open that up to our family and to our friends, to people that don't meet the qualification necessarily for an accredited investor, but want to get started, because then that way they'll see, what it looks like, right? And also start to get the benefits. And I think that's just a trickle effect. I think all it takes is one person to create that opportunity, and then from there, it can create like changes for so many generations and so many families. So
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
The only thing that I would add to that is, like, if we don't do it, well, who will, right? And so people want change. It's like, okay, well, this is a way to really enact
The way, yeah.
change. And so that's the path that we're on together.
Yeah, and something that we started recently is, over the summer, we had my 17-year-old brother as our marketing intern. So, he knows, he's starting to learn some of the terminology and different things, but just having access, to that for, my nieces and my nephew, just for them to have access and know that that's something that's possible is really, really big, whether it's with them or with our IHADA, for people to just know that this is something that you can do. So we just try to, talk about it, and not always talk about it, because sometimes people don't want to hear it,
Yeah.
to be honest. But I think when you talk about the benefits and how it can help them versus the like details of it, that definitely goes a long ways.
So that's amazing.
No, that's amazing. I love it, guys. You guys are killing it, and I love you guys' podcast too. So we're gonna go ahead and start wrapping it up. I just want to hit one clarifying point just for the listeners that when we say not paying taxes, we don't mean that people don't pay taxes. What we mean is that you can lower your tax owed to zero or even less over a period of time. That's what the wealthy do. They pay what they owe, which sometimes might be zero. But we're not saying do not pay your taxes. All right, two different things. We don't evade taxes. That's against the law.
I just wanna sell the idea.
But you gotta, but words mean things, man. You can't say, you don't pay taxes because everyone pays taxes. They just pay what they owe.
Yeah.
Two different
But
things.
you can, but that's true. You can minimize it in actually, if you make it good and depending on how the investment goes, it could go down to zero. So yeah, that's exactly what I meant.
All right. And then guys, so, if you could just tell our audience where they can find you, tell them about your podcast and everything else.
Yeah, so our podcast is Make It Rain, multifamily real estate investing for millennials. We're at makeItRainPodcast.com. We're on all platforms. We're at Make It Rain Podcast on Instagram. You can reach out to us on LinkedIn. My name, if you search my name, I'm the only one. If you search Daisy, she's likely the only one. But yeah, mine's linkedin.com/Luke And then Daisy, yours is Daisy-Serrano. Yeah, and I don't know, where else do you want to give out your email, phone number, Snapchat?
I don't have Snapchat. But I just want to say that, whoever is interested in reaching out and chatting, we're always excited to talk to people that are interested in in investing or just interested in learning more, and just want to have like a 15-minute chat about what's possible and the opportunities and just what it is, right? What it is to invest and to be in real estate. So yeah, we're always just happy to meet new people and to be able to provide more access. So definitely reach out to us.
Awesome stuff, guys. And
before we close, congratulations, because you guys are about to get married. So you guys make an amazing couple. So
Thanks. It's actually it's literally a month from today is the wedding day. So
awesome.
Nice,
well,
man.
We're gonna put the place, time, and date on the comments so people crush the wedding.
If we're not available, we might
just blow up your Instagram in your wedding. But yeah, thank you guys for coming on. It was awesome talking to you, and it's been awesome getting to know you guys. And we'll keep chatting.